Okay, I'm re-recording this because I tried streaming through the YouTube app and it doesn't work. So, what's going on here? Well, for those of you who have missed my vlog, I'm taking part. I am creating a world building project, concept that I came up with, inspired by events like 30 Days of Making or 100 Days of Making Comics. But I'm focusing more on the pre-production side. This is something that I can use in future comic and even novel projects where I'm basically creating the story Bible without putting too much into it because I want room for creativity and to come up with things as I go along. And I'm doing it. So right now I'm creating this as sort of a test project. I'm doing something that is technically fun, but also could stand to use a little world building. That's why I call it the World Building Project. This is the binder that I use for Captain Yuletide. And I started this when I did issue 3. And basically what I did before then was I just trying to see the glare here. What I did initially was I just made these character sheets. Let me see this light up. I'm getting a amount of glare from the white. That's a little better. Now you can actually see. Where am I supposed to push this now? Weird effect. Okay, so I just did kind of a regular model sheet like this. I want to create model sheets more like this. Here's one of Belle, Bryce's mate, which I created simply because I thought this is issue 3 is where I started really thinking about the backstory of the world. And in Belle's case, it was, what does Bryce do when he's not hanging out with Captain Yuletide saving Christmas? He has a mate. I thought it was just something he needed. And the whole thing, like issue 3, was the origin of Captain Yuletide. So I did a character sheet for Yuli, and Yuli as Captain Yuletide. And just doing it that way, just coming out thinking a bit more about the backstory of Captain Yuletide. How does the whole Santa Claus thing work in the world of Captain Yuletide? And so I created, this is a hole punch guide, because you can see, like with Deanna's, I didn't get the holes right, and it looks terrible. So I fixed that problem. And so that's going to do it. And these papers here, I'm just using this. I'm not using some fancy pro-made fanboy product or Canston product or anything else. It's just a simple, well, we used to call it phonics. I don't know what they call it now. Just thing you use to practice your alphabet on. And it's kind of what I use. As you see, here's one thing I got to do. I need to finish drawing Mitch as Captain Yuletide. And that was the other thing with this year, with the last comic. Mitch, in his pre-Yuletide form, appears in the story. He's talking to Deanna about stuff and setting up basically her character arc for the story. And there's Deanna in her Captain Yuletide outfit. And there's Mitch. I finished Mitch, his elf form. I now have to finish Elf and his Captain Yuletide. And then what I want to do after that is I want to write on the top here just like a brief, not a detailed history. This probably really doesn't need detailed backstories, but at least at this point, future projects probably will require more backstory for me to come up with. This one, not so much, although I'm not saying I won't at some point in the future. But I can write down, what the the characters done so far in the series and that sort of thing. And of course, I use the extra space for any case I need an extra drawing. Like here's what she looks like without the cape, because I wouldn't know that. So that's one of the things that I want to do is take and create all these character sheets. They were kind of inspired by the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. In the 90s, they did this version that you would tear out the pages and put it in a binder. DC did the same thing with their Who's Who, but Marvel actually had like character model sheets, whereas DC had a really cool pinup poster. And that kind of inspired me back then to actually make turnarounds like that for my own characters that I was doing in that Galactic Adventures I talked about in last year's Art Sound Off Challenge. So I kind of got inspired to do that with the Captain Yuletide characters in issue 3, and then issue 4 started. Between issue 3 and issue 4, I started thinking more about the backstory. So I want to take and create that. So I want to write, and then not just working on characters and writing their backstory. The other thing I want to do too is I want to come up with a dedicated layout for Workshop 24, where the Captain Yuletide elves hang out. And I want to write down some basic ideas of, why do we not see in the North Pole on Google Pole and Santa's Workshop and the North Pole on Google Earth? And why can't people find it? And how does Santa Claus travel all around the world all year, but NORAD can still track them at certain points? And they seem to be going a lot fast. I'm going to try to come up with explanations for all that, which will make ideas for good stories. Like, let's say, however Santa travels on the world, somebody messes with that, and the Captain Yuletide Chosen has to undo the damage. That sort of thing. I kind of want to build up this this world and come up with story ideas. Not so much that I lose creativity. I don't want to be so tight knit. That's something that comes from making a series long term. And this is just a once a year Christmas comic, so I don't want to overthink this comic. But at the same time, I want to make sort of a framework for what I plan to do with the series going forward. And this is going to be the the template for other long-term projects I may have going forward. The next comic I'm actually going to work on, hopefully, it's not really going to need that as much any kind of production value. It's a one-shot. It's a one-shot comic, just meant to be silly and have a little fun. But if I do another long-term project, I have other comic ideas that would require a little more backstory, or I have a novel idea, and that's going to require some backstory. I want to be able to create a story Bible that has the information I need to be able to create the story and still leave room to build on it. And that's kind of what the world building project is. A chance for me to build the world out without doing everything, but doing enough to be able to start creating some good stories. And that's what we're going to be working on for the next month. Now, how this is going to post is it'll go live on Patreon as soon as I get everything all set up. It's going to go live at bwspotlight.com. The Patreon, by the way, patreon.com/bwspotlight. So I need contribute anything, and you'll see it as soon as I'm done making the video and doing the report. For those of you who don't want to support the Patreon, bwspotlight.com will have it in the usual morning article link spot. That's 6 a.m. Eastern time. For the rest of you, you just want to wait for the YouTube. That will go live as soon as I get to the computer. That's kind of a necessity because I can't schedule it to go unlisted, but if I schedule it, I can't embed it anywhere because it'll just get this video is not available. That's not fair. So that's how I'm going to do it. And hopefully people might find something interesting in the experience of how one creates a world Bible. Story Bible, make people start doing their own thinking about pre-production. There's no pre-production challenges like this out there. The only closest you can come to is maybe 30 characters in 30 days. Some people have used Inktober to come up with ideas. But this is all about pre-production, creating the world, building the world. This is the world building project. What happened on my computer? My screensaver just came on. This is about to sign off. Figures. So I hope you enjoy the project. It's going to go through November until I'm done, or till the end of November. Then maybe if I'm still, for some reason, still coming up with stuff for this, I may do like a weekly follow-ups or something. But basically, I want to spend this month focusing on creating the production Bible, the pre-production, fleshing out the concepts to use later, and hopefully you'll find it interesting, and maybe we'll get you to think a little bit about how you do your own pre-production. You may not do it the same way I do. You may not need a challenge. You may just do it. And the thing is, I'm kind of doing it like 4 issues in. So I'm weird like that. But so we'll see you for the next installment, and hopefully try to make these videos will get me to focus on doing the project and getting this done. So until then, I'm just going to borrow the sign off from my Art Sound Off videos and wish you all happy creating.